Welcome back to another episode of Creative Encounter Podcast. I'm your host, Juiette Payne, and I'm excited to have you back for episode 42 of this podcast. We are just flowing, dropping a new episode every single week. If you are on YouTube watching, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any episodes. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. That would be fantastic. And on Spotify, please leave us a rating so we can reach so many more Kingdom creatives through this podcast. But without further ado, I want to introduce a really good friend of mine, just a musical prodigy. This is my guy, dude. Yes, sir. Tyvon Dukes. What's going on, bro?
Hello. It's good to see you, man. It's definitely been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yo, when we met up, so we just met up a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
He just came into the studio, and we were like, bro, why was the last time I saw you at the barbershop?
Yeah.
Had to be at least 4 years ago.
Like 4 years
before
ago.
COVID.
Before COVID.
I think it was before COVID.
Which is interesting because BC now, man.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I never put that together. Oh, man.
It's like life after COVID is a whole nother thing.
We need an AD to tell us all
Yeah,
that.
we need to do something with that.
Dude,
but yeah.
You just flipped my mind just for that. I got all these jokes coming through. But yeah, man, so that's crazy. So it's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
How's life?
Life has been crazy. You know, I've been having a lot of really cool musical developments over the past couple years. Yeah. Well, really, I would say the last 4 or 5 years have been really just incredible as far as the music stuff. Even during, you know, COVID when everything was like shutting down. So a lot of really cool doors opened up for me. Because funny enough, like I left my retail job the maybe 4 months before COVID. Wow. And so it was just kind of like, I was really asking God, like at the time, I was like, all right, God, I want to do, like, I got all this music stuff, like, all right, what do I do with this? And so I ended up, long story short, I ended up taking a break from being at the retail job and took a week just to kind of focus on just being in prayer and just focusing on the music stuff. And for the first time in my life, I was actually able to write actual lyrics because I'd always arranged and, you know, played on stuff, but I'd never actually took time to write lyrics before. And so in that 1 week, I was able to do something. I was like, all right, this seems like something. So I told my family about it, let my family hear the music and stuff. And I was like, guys, I'm thinking about quitting my job. And, you know, I got 6 other brothers and sisters, and I got a unanimous yes from each person of just going for it. And I'll never forget one of the last conversations I had with my oldest brother, Steve. He was the one that really kind of helped me like make that final decision of like leaving, because it was like he was the one that helped me get that job in the first place. So I was like, well, if he says go for it, then I was like, this must be okay. Wow. And so I remember I was talking to him and I was like, you know, bro, I'm thinking about leaving this job. And he's like, well, it's either one or two things is going to happen. He said, either number one, you hear from God and this is going to be the best thing ever, or you not, and it's gonna be the biggest mistake of your life. So he's just being real with me. But he followed it up with this, and I never forgot it. And he said, no matter what, though, I'll still support you either way. I'll still be there for you. And so when he said that, that was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna make this jump. And since then, I have been able to work with some phenomenal people that I've never even thought possible. I ended up becoming, so I ended up producing 2 singles, one of which was my sister-in-law. I wrote and produced that one. Wow. And then a year later, I wrote and produced my own single. That now is the story of what's happening to me nowadays. But so I did that, and then I actually ended up getting linked up with Delaney Land and becoming one of the producers for that. And so one of the songs I got to work on, I got to work with Justin Raines, who is Israel Holden's bass player. So I'm a huge Israel. I'm a huge Israel fan. So I was like, I always wanted to meet Israel Holden and all that kind of stuff. I just never imagined I would get to work with somebody that's played and toured all over the world with them. So like I've gotten so many different opportunities and stuff like that just have really changed everything for me. And you know, I took this leap of faith, not really sure where it was going to take me. But I really feel like I'm still on this train that God told me to get on. And just when I feel like, all right, I've reached the end of this track, it's like we left the tracks a long time ago, and it's just kind of going to someplace I don't even know. It's been a crazy ride, and when I tell you stuff only opened up because I made myself more available, that's like become the story of my life. And it's not only been opportunities for music, but just ministry as well. And what I've really been learning in this journey is so much stuff. Is that first off, it's like sometimes we have to make these really, really big decisions, and we're only focusing on what it does for us, but we're never thinking about what it can do for another person. And so God has this ultimate plan of like, I'm trying to connect these people with this person and connect the dots. And he's like, I just need you to move to where you need to be. And then I can help this other person. So I've had so many opportunities to minister for two people and be ministered to just from life experiences I've had. And a lot of the times it's like, and this has been my message I've been preaching to everybody, is that like, there's a difference between your gifting and what your purpose is. And so your gift will take you to different places, but your purpose is not for the gift. And so what I mean by that is like, piano is my gifting in music, but a lot of times that's not the reason why I'm at those places. I'll get called to come play piano, but I'll end up talking to somebody that's going through a rough time. And so I really try to keep myself open to, God, why am I here? And not in the sense of like, when do I go home? But more in the sense of, God, there's something here for me. Is it a person I'm supposed to connect with, to talk to? Is somebody supposed to talk to me? Like, why am I here? And it's really changed the way all my interactions with all the different places I go. And so that's been the journey thus far, and it only continues to get interesting. And I don't even know if, one interview for me is enough to really share all the stuff that's been happening, because, I had a period of time where I was homeless in life, and all of this stuff that I've experienced in life has now started to come together as one full package. And so the music stuff now is just creating more opportunities for me to share these types of stories. And so I'm really excited about that.
Oh my goodness, dude. This is already starting to get exciting, bro. Because even just that story right now just like really just inspired me. And it's crazy because you're definitely Steve's brother, bro. Because like legit. Because okay, so Steve was on some episodes ago.
Yeah.
And he was saying the same thing as far as like your gift. Like how you just say your gift is what takes you to different places and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And your passion sometimes may not necessarily be your gift and stuff, but that's okay, because what you're passionate about, sometimes the gifting can help lead you into that.
Yeah.
And then when they both coexist, that's just a beautiful thing. So we're passionate about music and everything, and that's our gifting and stuff too. So it's just a beautiful road, and you just take that leap with God.
Oh
goodness,
and even with that, like I've been discovering some stuff about myself that I didn't know I was good at. Like I never really saw myself as like this leadership person or any kind of things like that. And so, the church I've been doing music directing for, like I was good at doing like arrangements and that kind of stuff. But as far as being in a leadership type position where people are kind of looking for me for help and stuff, I was like, I never did this before. And so like I was really just relying on God a lot for that, because it's like I've done this before in different places, but I don't know how this works in this particular place. And so I remember just praying and asking God, it's like, okay, God, I don't know how to do this, and I don't want this to become just like a routine thing where I just show up, play my 3 songs, go home. I want this to mean something. So what do I do? And I really feel like this is what God audibly said to me. It's just like, I need more. And I'm like, more of what? And it's like, I need more. So I'm like, okay. So he's asking for more, but I don't know what. So I just started doing a bunch of stuff. I started to get more involved with like volunteer stuff at the church. I started trying to make myself more available as a leader. Not trying to be like a tyrant, but just letting people know, hey, I'm here if you need help. Like trying to step up more into that position. And really just in any aspect, reading my Bible more, like trying to figure out
every facet of life, giving him more.
And what was really, really cool about all of that is like the environment I was in started to change, but not because I was trying to change the environment. It's because I was trying to change me, and it had this incredible domino effect. And I remember I was maybe a month or 2 into this pursuit of more, and I was talking to somebody, and they're like, one day you just changed. 1 week you came back and you were just different. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize you were paying attention. And so it's crazy just how God has been doing a lot of stuff, and I've been learning so much about not only just music, but just what it means to be a music director, what it means to be a leader, what it means to actually care for the people that you serve with. Because a lot of times in ministry, the people that serve are the ones that get forgotten. And so I have a real heart to just really pour into those people and try to make sure, hey, how you doing? Because a lot of people, they serve on weekends and stuff like that, but nobody ever asks the question, how are you doing? And we're singing songs and worshiping and doing all this stuff. And not once has anybody said, are you even okay to be singing right now? And so we always try to make sure that whoever's serving on the team, be they a contracted person or just a volunteer, we always ask the question of how are you doing? But with the intentionality of like, no, I actually care about how you feel. And so that's been part of the growing journey. And I feel like where God has been really pushing me into this next phase of life, which I'm not even sure how this is going to look. I mentioned earlier that like one of the songs, so I produced and wrote 2 songs. As of recently, development about 2 weeks ago, these 2 songs got distributed to over 300 radio stations all over the world. I love it, bro. I had no clue this even happened. Awesome. That's awesome. And so I remember I was walking out of my other job that I work in. I looked at my phone on Facebook and it was like, yeah, your song is playing in rotation or something in Panama. I'm like, what?
and they translated it to Spanish.
I'm like, okay, I don't remember doing any of that. How did this happen? So long story short, a family that my brother Steve is helping out there, the husband, he does some stuff with like different radio stations and was looking for some music. And my songs got picked, and so he's been constantly, this contact has been constantly like sending me different messages like, bro, this is happening with your song, this is happening. And so I've had 3 radio interviews in the past 2 weeks. One of them was with a station in London, and now my song is in rotation in London.
That's so beautiful, dude.
And I got another text message about it being in Ghana, on a TV station in Ghana and India. And they asked me for the lyrics for the station in Ghana because they wanted to translate it into a different language. So, a song I wrote at 3:00 in the morning under some really like just having a bad time and I wrote the song. The song is really to help men broken relationships. That's what the whole song is about. Awesome. And
what's the name of it?
The song is called Giants.
Yes.
Yes. The song is called Giants. Come on, man. All right.
Everybody's like sitting there anticipating, like,
what is
this? Listen to
He's talking to the song. Yeah. But the song is called Giants, and it's based on 2 different things. So one of them is I had me and my father, we had a falling out in our own relationship. We have a great relationship now, but we had a falling out, and
it was around the time you kind of
that was so the song actually came out a couple years after all of that. So I had some other stuff that happened, but it was like that situation plus the new thing kind of. It was like the emotional push I needed to finally write this song. And so I had that happen. So it comes from 2 places, one of which, so like I said, stuff with me and my dad. And then the other part of that inspiration comes from the story of David and Goliath. But it's looking at the story from Goliath's perspective versus David. Wow. And the reason that is so if you look at Goliath's life, he was a champion of the Philistines. Everybody celebrated him. In the sense, if you're looking at it from his standpoint, he's the good guy. If we're, labeling good guy, bad guy.
And he's just like, this is easy. This is
He's strong. He's done this a billion times. And so, but in order for David to get to where he needed to be, Goliath had to fall. So the parts that really stuck out to me when it came to Goliath is the fact that he was celebrated by all these people. And if you think about it, sometimes we have these situations where we may not start the fight or stuff goes wrong, but we have people in our corner that are celebrating what we're doing, but they might be celebrating us from the truth. And so when it came to the situation with me and my dad is that for a long time I blamed him for a lot of stuff. And the issue was I never looked inward to see what I was doing wrong. And then I had people in my corner that, would say, the way I felt was justified. But in order for things to move forward, I had to get beyond being justified. And I think in any situation, there's what's right, what's wrong, and what is the truth. And so the truth will fix a situation. Was it right for me to feel the way I did? Possibly. Was it wrong to stay that way? Yes. What's the truth? We need to get beyond this. And so that story of David and Goliath with, having that mindset, I was like, okay, maybe I need to change. And the song has really changed how I deal with relationships with people in general. Like this song has literally changed my life. Because it's so many different situations where we have like giants, or where you could become a giant to somebody. Because the song really, the lyrics just go through like, what is a giant? It talks about it, and then it asks the question, am I that? And it just keeps repeating that over and over again. And I didn't realize it. And I've been hearing different stories and different testimonies from people that have listened to the song. One of the most recent ones, somebody said it helped them get through a 10-year plus a disagreement they had with a friend. And that is just amazing for me. That's a breakthrough for me, because like, what I want people to do when they listen to the song is not think about a person that is a giant to them, but look at them inward and see, how am I becoming the giant in this situation? And so
that's so good, man.
That's what the whole song is about. It's about helping people fix broken relationships by looking inward. I think I've been putting together this whole ministry thing because, funny enough, I had it all put together when I first wrote the song, because I really feel like God gave me an entire vision of what to do just beyond the song. And with the recent development of what's been happening, it feels like the song is coming out all over again. And I may have opportunities to go travel around the world and do the song. And I was looking at my notes and I found a note that I wrote from 2 years ago, and it had this whole ministry thing called Taking Down the Giants. And it's all about just thought questions and stuff to help people.
Did you kind of forget about that? And you came back like,
I didn't forget about it per se, but once the song started to pick up again, I remembered that I had it, and so I went and looked at it. I was like, oh, because I did have a mild moment of freaking out, because I'm like, oh no, what if people do call me? But it was like I had that freak out moment, but then I looked back at my notes, and it was written exactly what to do. And essentially, what it is there are these 3 thought questions that I had to go through in my own head when I was dealing with stuff with me and my dad. And the first question is, what's the ideal situation? What's in a perfect world, what is the relationship supposed to look like? You have your disagreements, but you have disagreements, but you can be in the same room, laugh, talk, whatever. Then the second question is, why is it not that? So it's just kind of pinpoint what is
great question so far.
where did things fall apart? What's really happening? And then the last question is, do you want it to be better? And so this question sounds simple, but I think it's just as important, because depending on if you say yes or no, that's a reflection on your own heart. And so for a long time, when I was going through these questions myself, I would say, well, yes, that's obvious. I want stuff to be better between me and my dad. And then it was like, well, go back and revisit why you keep saying it's not working in question 2. And so, again, I would always point the finger at my dad. And then I really feel like the Holy Spirit just kind of was like, no, things won't get better, not because your dad won't change, because you won't change. And so then my answer for number 2 changed from this because this person won't do blah, blah, blah.
Bro. You preaching,
so,
bro. Come on, dude.
Wow. And that's what the whole thing is about. And I don't want to do it as like something that I'm selling. It's literally just I'm putting together my website, and the questions are going to be on the website, and just so people can work through it on their own time and just hold on to that. And like, I don't want this to be like a one-time thing that you just use and then go away. No, this can apply to so many different situations. And this is how, when stuff happens, I think about it. It's like, what went wrong? And at the end of it, it's like, do you want it to be better? And if your answer is yes, it makes anything else. It's like, okay, you stop thinking about what they did wrong and what they need to do to change, and then you start thinking, what can I do to change, or what can I do better? And when you start asking that question, it makes it so much. It changes everything. Wow. So yeah.
Man, bro, you bringing the heat. You better slow down. Holy smokes, this is awesome, bro. Okay, this is crazy. So I mean, just you pivoting is just so encouraging. And I hope it's really encouraging to all the creatives who are listening, because it shows when we make those pivots and God is calling us to do it, He's going to sustain, He's going to take care of it, He's going to open these doors. It's going to be some stuff that closes because that wasn't for us. It's just a crazy ride with the Lord, which you see all through Scripture too. So it's like just living out the Scriptures in this moment in time. It's awesome. I was going to mention, you were mentioning when you left your job. That's true. I remember around that time, that's when I was hitting you up to do some of my tracks. And you were kind of like, oh, let's get to it when I get off of work. Because you're still working at, what was it, Apple? Yeah. So you're still working there and stuff, and then you're sending me stuff later in the night and stuff. So it must have been a little bit after that. You pivoted 2018-ish.
It was like late 2019 was when I finally, I think I remember it was October 31st of 2019 was my last day.
You're like, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. That's it. Happy Halloween. I'm a customer. But it was right around that time. And I had no clue. And the funny thing is, when I left, I did have some other projects. I was working on Jana's first single when I left. But when I left, I actually didn't have any kind of resources or anything. I didn't know. I had nothing. And I was like, well, I just know, God, I'm supposed to do this. I don't have the resources to do it. And if it turned out I did have the resources, I just needed to step out and do something first. And so, and what's really cool is, all of the people that I've met in that space have been the ones that have really helped me, going forward as far as the music that I've made later on. Because the people that I got to work with for the first single that I wrote and produced, this really cool guy that I've known since I was a kid. His name AJ Cunningham, and I didn't realize how amazing he was. I mean, he does phenomenal background vocal work, I realized how amazing he was when first I was on his Instagram and I looked and he was hanging out with Justin Timberlake's music director. Wow. And then there was I forget what Disney event happened, but I'm pretty sure, I think he did the background vocals work for it. Wow. So he's incredible. Yeah. Then I got to work with Jalen Moore. He played drums for Todd Delaney. Okay. And so he actually played drums on both singles, both Jana's and my own. Okay, nice. And then the other folks were just hanging out with my brothers, and I mean, they're awesome folks. So it was a lot of, just when I didn't think I had anything, I learned how to put out an album and all of that stuff. And so even when it seemed like, the music wasn't doing well or whatever, and again, I didn't even do the music because I was like, I'm trying to get famous. I just really felt like there's something that hasn't been said, and I want to say it because it's important. And it's only from you, because every single person is unique and has their own story. Exactly. So what God gave you, you have to put out there. Yeah, right. To reach people. Yeah. I love that, dude. Now, what I love about playing with you and us recording together and things like that is that you put these arrangements together, bro, like these layers. Okay, so let me tell y'all right now. So now we're about to start, talk about my guy. So Tyvon, he's the one playing keys on Turn It Up. So all you guys know Turn It Up, right? So he didn't, I asked him I just told him to boom, 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 just 3 chords, boom. And he got that going. He got the pass. He got all of the extra layers and stuff. All of that. Like, bro, what you doing? So, I love that because, when you produce, I think it would be encouraging even for them to hear, what's your creative process. Oh yeah. When you put the pieces together, because you could just play keys, put a simple pad on there, but you send to me these tracks and you got all these different sounds and layers and stuff on there that puts this whole piece together. Yeah. So with the way that I do stuff, so first off, I think I get a full picture usually when I hear something. References are always a good thing to have, or just understanding what the person is trying to do. And so that's where I kind of first start. And then once I understand what they're doing, then I try to I start small. Yeah. You always want to leave yourself space to put more on stuff. So essentially, if I have a piano part, I'll play it really simple because it might be, I don't want to play in the space of another instrument. Or if, in some cases, what I'll do is I'll play a bunch of stuff on piano and then just take whatever licks or lines I have, play, and then just double it with another instrument. And then there's just I did take some classes in college that talked about different instrumentations and just where they sound best. Nice. But it's all about just filling up the space without overpowering everything. And so I know my ear for music, I can just hear like the slightest, like that one bit of open space where it's like, man, a clap should be right here, but only in this spot.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
mean, you were sending me all that. You know, all those layers.
But that's what it is about layering is you want to leave yourself room for other stuff. Because sometimes when we're arranging or composing music, you put everything with one instrument and you're like, well, I'm just trying to fill in the space. It's like, fill it up with a different instrument. You know, different rhythms, different melodies, and there's different thought processes to do that. Like if you have a melody that you're working with, if the melody has 4 notes in it, then maybe you play a slower version of the melody in a different instrument and play just 2 of the notes. And so you like that's the other thing I do is I pull from other instruments in order to get ideas. So if the drums is already there and then it's doing like a rhythm like maybe another instrument will play you know, something to keep the rhythm going that isn't a percussion instrument. And functionality is a huge part of it too. Like what is the purpose of this instrument being here? A lot of times in a lot of the CCM stuff especially, like there's some kind of rhythmic synth sound that's keeping the pulse. And it's kind of acting as like a metronome, so you don't necessarily need to have one. Or even if in a congregational setting, that's the thing that's keeping the pulse. So even if drums or something stops, it's something keeping that pulse going. So it's about functionality, and then just listening to the other stuff that's happening and then understanding what is the song itself happening. You know, use the themes from the lyrics and that kind of stuff to build in to the music. If the song says we're rising up, then there needs to be something that happens, like a melody that goes up or something like that. You know, use text painting is what they call it, and it's just like when you make the sounds that you're using paint the picture, or it's like the lyrics say the sky opened up, you know, and you have this like something like that. So use those ideas, like play off of the lyrics, play everything, every component of a song is inspiration to add a layer somewhere. And so that's a lot of what I do when I'm making music. So in Giants, for example, at the very beginning of the song, I believe there's like this loud boom sound, and so that's represented the footsteps of an actual giant.
Okay, the footsteps. So that was the fall.
That's like boom. That's like or whatever you think of, whatever imagery it gives you. You know when a giant is either falling or present. There's this big, overwhelming presence or sound that you hear, and so that's why that's theirs. And that's how I write and compose. It's more about how can I paint a picture and make people see something in their heads or think about something. And so that's kind of my process. Is you start with piano or any other instrument, but piano can always be a way. Like if you play a piano and you play all these different like licks and stuff, take your licks and turn them into other parts for other instruments, and so that way it fills up the space. Yeah,
that's dope. I love it. Now on Giants, who's singing?
Yes. So on Giants, it is not me singing. It is not me singing. No, I will say that with a smile on my face. That is not me singing. But it's a really incredible story. So the guy, his name is Manasseh Emmanuel, and I actually met him via social media. We actually never met in person before. But the way it happened was my brother Steve had put out on social media that if anybody needed guitar, that he would be willing to play. And so this guy reached out to Steve, and Steve played on his stuff. And then Steve sent his stuff to me and my brother Sheldon. We played at it. So this was the first time I'd ever actually heard his voice before. And so maybe fast forward like 4 months later after this, I was working on Giants, and I'm like, well, I need somebody to sing it because I can hold a note, but I can't. I could not do the song justice the way what I was trying to do. And so I called him. I reached out to him, and he was like, "Man, this sounds exciting." And he said, I'll be a part." And so he's actually featured as one of the artists on the song. So if you look at it, it says Tyvon Dukes, and then featuring both Ali Curry and then Manasseh Emmanuel, who are both just incredible people, incredible singers. And then my friend AJ, he's the one that produced the background vocals in the song. So I gave him money, and he said he went to work and he sent it back. I was like, this is amazing. Wow. And so but that's who's singing on it. 'Cause I like, it's I'm not ashamed of like getting other people to sing songs for me or trying to take ownership of stuff I didn't do. No, I wrote the words, I produced it, I arranged it, I composed it, but I did not play guitar. I didn't play bass. I most certainly didn't play drums, and I did not sing. But I'm just super excited that all the people that were involved did their parts, and then I like to give people creative freedom with the projects, because I feel like on the instrument that they're good at, they can do something that I'm not even thinking of. And so there were so many instances of people taking the ideas I had and just completely maximizing the potential of what they were. And funny enough, like with Manasa, his first take of singing Giants was pretty much the one that I used. I think we had some lyrical things. I had changed some of the stuff with the lyrics, so he had to re-record certain parts. But literally, his first take was just so powerful. I remember jumping around in my room and almost crying, because it was like, it's nothing like hearing the lyrics that you wrote but come back, and then the music starts to come together.
How you envision it sounding.
And so that happened, and then my brother Tim actually played the guitar solo at the end. So this was actually the first song that me and all my blood brothers actually played on together. So it's got a lot of, there's so much stuff behind this song that happened between the larger version of it to the acoustic version that I did, that features one of my good friends, Allie Curry. She leads worship she's worship leader over at a church, and she just added so much flair to the acoustic version. It's just such beautiful, where you could just sit and listen to it and just kind of like, man, because that's what I want. I wanted to have a larger version where I could just, I wanted to have two different arrangements so I could play either one, and depending on your mood, you could listen to either one in either situation. And so on the acoustic version, there's actually a live cello and violin on it. And the guy that played on it and did it, he was actually a pen pal that I met on a Nintendo forum.
Come on.
Years ago when I was like 12 years old.
I mean, Nintendo's been a blessing from the beginning.
It's been a blessing. So Nintendo had a message board back in, I can't remember when I was 12, but it was some years ago. But back then, and me and this guy, we connected because in our little banner things, our custom made banners, we have Bible verses in our banners, and so we sent messages to each other and became friends that way. And then kept up talking, and then lost connection when I got to college, and then reconnected again when I was working on Giants, and came to find out how much each other were into music. And so he does orchestral video game arrangements of songs.
I'm listening to that stuff all the time on Spotify.
And his stuff sounds incredible. And so I told him about what I was doing, and he just said, I'll be a part. And so this was a connection I had before I even did music. And so it's just incredible how God worked out. It was like, there's so much to this song that it's like, and even now with stuff the way it's happening now, where it's just kind of like, this song I really feel like was meant to happen. And so I'm excited about not only the song itself, like just how it came out, but really just the message and just the testimonies I have gotten from it. And just it's encouraging for me, because like I set out to do something. I wasn't thinking, 2 years later, this is going to be all over the world. I wasn't thinking, I was just like, this song means something to me, and it has changed my life. And I want to share the message because it's changed me, and I hope that it can change somebody else too. Because if it can help me and my dad, if it can help, this other friend that I had, why not help somebody else? And so if people do have music or stuff, like, don't let, all the other artists and stuff like that out there stop you from doing something. Because nobody can be a better you than you. So you may as well be the best you can be, because nobody else is trying. So just be the best version of yourself. And like what I've relied on a lot of when I do music now is just like, if it means something to me, it'll mean something to somebody else. And so that's kind of been, never mind, who else is doing all this stuff. It's like, does it mean something to you? That's it. Okay, then put it out.
That's it, man. Holy smokes, that's it. Dude, okay, so usually when we wrap up an episode, we always have you to like give like an encouraging word or some type of last thing, a call to action of some sort
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the artists and stuff like that. But it's like, bro, this whole conversation you already been doing that, so I don't know if you can pull anything else.
I think I got a couple more words.
Yeah. So it's like, what's something that you can leave for the creative, just for them to go and do. You know what I'm saying?
This is something I've been thinking about a lot. Is just find something that motivates you to do what you do, because there's going to come a time when it's not going to be that great. And you have to remember, why am I doing this in the first place? That motivation could be, you saw somebody play or something, sing something, and it really touched you, or that you wanted to, share that message with another. Whatever that is, find something that inspires you to do what you do. I know earlier this year, I started rewatching a lot of stuff that inspired me to even play piano in the first place. And it really rekindled a fire in me to practice and really get. I'm like, you know what? That song I always wanted to learn, I still can't actually physically play that. I should go back and do that. And so just having those things that can just kind of push you forward beyond the point of this is not great, because you're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, probably really, really, really lows, but you just got to remember, why am I doing this in the first place, and use that as your motivation to push you forward. That's helped me a lot. And again, just that same thing, like I said before, it's just be the best you can be. Everybody else got their own style. It's actually one of my favorite stories that I've read or saw. There's this comedian, I think his name is Michael Jr. something. I forget his name. You know what I'm talking about?
The Christian,
Christian comedian.
hilarious.
And he did this. He did this comedy segment that was really cool, where he was like, this video is going to be really inspirational, I guarantee. And so I watched it, and one of the segments, it had this guy. He did this painting, and the painting has got 3 men in it that are fishing. So you got 2 people. There's got 1 man on the left side, 1 man on the right side, and then there's another guy that's sitting down. So they're all fishing. So you can see them fishing, and then you can see how low their fishing poles are going. And so the whole purpose of the painting is the 2 guys that are standing on the sides, that are standing up, their fishing rods only come up to a certain depth. But the guy that's sitting down, his fishing pole goes lower. And what you'll also notice about this painting is that the man that's sitting is actually missing a leg, so he can't stand. So the whole point of this painting is that sometimes we get handicaps and setbacks, and we feel like, I can't do what the 2 people next to me are doing. But ultimately, we're able to reach something that somebody else can't. And so it's like, when I first started doing the musical stuff, I was like, I don't have the resources to do what I need to do, or what this person did, or what that person did. And it's like, no, you have the resources to do what you're supposed to do. And so that's, I think, is a really, really cool, painting, a cool thing to think about, is because we're always so busy focused on what we don't have or what somebody else can do, and never think about what we do have and what we're supposed to do. And you may not have started off like, a Jacob Collier, where you had Quincy Jones, as your mentor and that kind of stuff. That's okay. The organist from the church probably taught you all they knew. Use what you got. Use what you got, and use that to inspire somebody else. And so that would be my words of encouragement. And you never know. You could write a song, and 2 years later, the right person hears it, and next thing you know, you're traveling or have all these different interviews and phone calls and stuff. So just don't give up. Keep going, and go listen to Giants.
Oh, yes. Yes. Perfect segue. Bro, so I was going to literally say, how can they follow you? IG, website, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So you can find, I am Tyvon D Music on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. I got a Facebook page. It's Tyvon D. I like to be myself, so if you know my first and last name, you could pretty much find me anywhere. That also goes as well if you're trying to listen to my music. You can find my single Giants on pretty much any digital media platform, be it Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, something that nobody's ever heard of before, Amazon. You know, you can find my music in all those places. And also check out my sister-in-law's single, He Is God. That was fun one. She's a great singer, great person. So also check that one out.
We gotta get her on here too next, man.
Man,
oh my goodness. Love it. Love that song. Awesome, bro, dude. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome, man.
Awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sir.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course.
Thank you.
Hey guys, so this is Creative Encounter Podcast. Please go ahead and follow Juiette Z Payne Music, Creative Encounter Podcast. And if you want to be a monthly partner with this ministry, the link is in the description below, along with all of Tyvon's links that we just mentioned. That is all down there too. So go ahead and partner with us so we can continue to do this podcast and minister through music and worship. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.